I'm Michael McConkey from Edible Landscaping. It's a beautiful August day, first week of August, and I'm standing under a grapevine, and we're going to talk about how to get grapes through the year without spraying them. And I'm standing under a mortison grape that I've not sprayed. Usually grapes that you find in the food stores are sprayed a whole lot, especially on the East Coast, where they may be sprayed every 7 to 14 days with fungicides, etc. Now this particular grape does pretty well without any spray at all. And I want to go through some of the things that happen. This leaf that I've picked has black rot on it. And the black rot is a fungus, and it has tiny black spores around those brown freckles that you see. When the rain hits the leaf, the water droplet flies up in the air, comes back down with the spore, and it infects what's ever below it. And usually that's a bunch of grapes. So what happens is your grapes can get ruined. Excuse me for a second. Now that's a beautiful cluster of grapes if I ever saw one, and those raisins there actually aren't raisins, they are black rotted, infected grapes. This is the only one that made it. Oh, I'll show you something. This is still very good, but a little sour, kind of like what you get in the food store. And I don't think you can see that seed, but that seed is still green. It is not brown. So when they get brown, you're going to get a sweeter grape. So I'm not going to really harvest these yet. Now if I don't spray, that's what usually happens. But one day we had a volunteer work day, and we had a bunch of folks out here, and we were taking these natural wax paper bags, as you can see, like this. Excuse me, guys. We tear the margin of them like that, and tear the margin here. And we can actually wrap it around a cluster of grapes. Now this, I'm just going to do this cluster just to show you what I mean. You take the top leaf, there's usually a top leaf above the grape. I've already taken that off because that's the one that had the brown rot, I think. And then I put this over the grape. Kind of like that. And I might pick 25 bunches off of this vine, because you pick about 25 bunches and they get real nice and big. I take a hand staple like this one, and I get in here. Actually, I think I'll get over here first. I get in here at the hand staple and give it a staple there. And then I get up here and I do the same thing. I flap the wax paper bag over it and do it again. Now none of the black rot can get into the bag. And the fruit can be unsprayed. And you can do this with apples, and do this with pears. There's lots of fruits you can do this with if you want to. Here's one that we did probably 60 days ago, because it was on a volunteer work day, and this is a volunteer work day today. In fact, Charlie is the cameraman, and he's a volunteer. All right, I'm going to take this off. And so we must have bagged this grape cluster a little early, a little late, because I'm finding some black rot on it, but it didn't spread. It's only on a few of the grapes. The rest of the grapes look pretty good, and there's something you can take home and enjoy. And that's what it's all about when you're bagging your grapes. Muscadine grapes don't need this. Muscadine grapes are native, and they're very disease resistant, so they're a great alternative to bunch grapes or seedless grapes. I'm going to show you one more grape that really gets diseases, and that's why we're not going to continue selling it to our customers. And give us just a second. We're going to go over and see that vine. And this is a Jupiter seedless grape. It was introduced from the University of Arkansas, and it's one of my favorite tasting grapes, although it's short-lived at the nursery. And this is why. Because besides getting brown rot, it also gets a downy mildew. And this mildew gets on the underside of the grape leaf, and you can see it here. It's kind of a white powdery stuff. It basically deforms the leaf and makes the leaf drop off. And so this plant has an overabundance of grapes on it. We did do some bagging of this grape, but we should have taken all the other grapes off because they don't have, there's not enough leaf on here to ripen all these clusters. Plus, so you're getting uneven ripening. Where this is getting close to ripe, these are far, far behind, they're still green. And this was what a grape would look like in our area, Virginia, Washington, D.C., Maryland, Pennsylvania. It would probably look like this at the end of the summer just because we have such a humid condition here. So this grape would look beautiful. It would look like it would have, with a fungicidal spray every about 7 to 14 days, you couldn't tell that it even got disease. But if you left it alone like we do here and leave it to its own, it's very susceptible to the hot, humid conditions we have here. Most grapes that are seedless come from a single parent called Thompson seedless, and that grape comes from Mediterranean areas where the summer temperatures are much drier. There's not so much humidity. It's very arid, and so they don't get the. They're just not as used. They haven't evolved with this kind of weather that we have here in the east. So I have bagged some of these grapes, and I will enjoy some of them, but you can see they're not ripening too well. And if the cameraman would try to shoot himself over to a Concord, you can see the difference in leaf canopy of one vine to the other. And that last grape there on that row is Concord seedless grape. Concord grape, not seedless. Don't ever buy one of those. They're not good grapes. But this is just a regular Concord grape. And you can see that it doesn't get diseases on its leaf. And then right in front of the cameraman, there is a muscadine grape, and you won't see any disease at all on that grape. I wonder if there's any fruit. The fruits are much later. I think right down here, you can start seeing there's clusters. These become really large grapes, and there's no disease, no spraying, and they're quite a nice treat in our area.